1997, interfering in one of the greatest Hell in a Cell matches of all time, the inception of the Hell in a Cell match between Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, which to this day is one of my all-time favorite WWE encounters, for the storyline, for the athletic ability, and the charisma shown by The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. The original Shawn Michaels Undertaker matches, I will throw this in here, were the best Shawn Michaels Undertaker matches that happened in that entire rivalry, especially how there was so much emphasis on Shawn Michaels' back injury, which The Undertaker gave him, which Shawn Michaels recently alluded to for Shawn Michaels' This Is My Journey, available now on Blu-ray. I really enjoyed the old Shawn Michaels matches, and it was because of people like Kane that those matches got over. I enjoyed the Shawn Michaels Undertaker WrestleMania matches, Part 1 and Part 2, but I think there was a lot more emphasis on the original Shawn Michaels Undertaker matches, and that was because more than just Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker were involved. You had Percy Pringle involved, you had Kane involved, and it was because of the parties outside of Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker's rivalry, which eventually led to The Undertaker versus Kane at WrestleMania 14, which was really the definitive rivalry of Kane's entire career back in 2010 when he wins the world title. He defends the championship consistently against The Undertaker, and that's really all Kane feuded with when he was the world champion, the most meaningful title reign of his entire 15-year career. For the entire reign, basically all he did was feud with The Undertaker, but you go back to the 90s, I mean, it was because of people like Kane that Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker got over. I just wish, Kane was being treated better than what he is. I mean, I've enjoyed seeing Kane as part of the Tag Team Champions, don't get me wrong. It's been fun seeing Kane and Daniel Bryan team up and face the Rhodes Scholars. It's been fun seeing Kane and Daniel Bryan team up and face teams like the Primetime Players who they've knocked off previously. I just think it's time for new Tag Team Champions and the team of Kane and Daniel Bryan to implode and do things more beneficiary to their careers. I mean, an Intercontinental Championship reign for Daniel Bryan would do him an incredible amount of justice. If you can give the Intercontinental Championship to Wade Barrett, Kofi Kingston, Dolph Ziggler, Cody Rhodes, the same 4 or 5 new Talent Initiative stars, because you're not confident enough in giving them the WWE Championship, you can give the Intercontinental title to Daniel Bryan, and you can't tell me that making him Intercontinental Champion wouldn't benefit him as much as making him one half of the Tag Team Champions is currently doing for him. Honestly, if you give Daniel Bryan the Intercontinental Championship, he's going to be one of the most talked about superstars on social media, because he really puts me in mind of a Shawn Michaels who was having some of his greatest matches of his entire career that came from defending the Intercontinental Championship. And I'm not saying that because Daniel Bryan was trained by Shawn Michaels. It's because Daniel Bryan has that Shawn Michaels charisma about him. He pops up when you least expect him to win a match and prove his critics wrong. And I think that's really what brought Shawn Michaels to the dance, his ability to pop out of nowhere and surprise his opponents and his fans by coming back from after being dominated for about 85% of the match, sweet chin music, and he wins a championship or successfully retains a championship. Either way you want to look at it, Shawn Michaels built a reputation for defying the odds. And Daniel Bryan really puts me in mind of a young Shawn Michaels in his early 30s, and I think that if you give Daniel Bryan the Intercontinental Championship, you can probably promote him even as effectively more than a Cody Rhodes is Intercontinental Champion, and you can give him that fan base that could eventually catapult Daniel Bryan to a second world title reign. And if you separate the team of Kane and Daniel Bryan, then you can have Kane focus more on his singles career, which he should have been doing ever since he returned as the resurrected Kane, more so than concentrating on benefiting a tag team partner who he teams with. If you would have consistently focused on Kane's singles career when he metamorphosized into an updated masked version from the late 90s, I think by now, after about 365 days, celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the resurrection of the Kane character after reintroducing him to a whole entirely different group of WWE fans than we saw in the Attitude Era, Kane would either be WWE or World Heavyweight Champion. And I think right now is a perfect time to give Kane the WWE Championship, because there are so many top new talent initiative superstars that can bring the best out of Kane and make Kane look phenomenal as WWE or World Champion. And something else that really frustrates me, where a lot of my frustration lies with the Kane character, just to clear it up for you, is that one-day reign he had as WWE Champion during the Attitude Era. Kane needs at least one meaningful WWE Championship run between now and the time he retires. I do not consider that reign he had from 1998 as a meaningful WWE Championship reign. The reign that he had as World Champion in 2010 consisted of matches with The Undertaker, and that really, to me, had much left to be desired. And I think that the WWE Championship reign that he had in 1998 was absolutely pathetic. He needs at least one meaningful WWE Championship reign where he will defend the title against people like Wade Barrett, Dolph Ziggler, Damien Sandow, Cody Rhodes, and every top new superstar with a scattered legend thrown in there over the course of 6 to 8 months. You give Kane the WWE Championship for about 6 to 8 months as the resurrected Kane and the reformation of his character, and you're going to see the ratings in WWE significantly increase. They're going to go just as high as they were when you had guest general managers being celebrities in 2009, or even higher. And I think that's really what's holding Kane back. I mean, Kane has never performed better than he has over the last 15 years since he was introduced for the first time back in 1997 in the first Hell in a Cell match. A great way of bringing Kane in a phenomenal storyline with The Undertaker. The home of The Undertaker and Kane was burnt to the ground. Kane survives, shows up as this masked, deformed character for years. Finally, in 2003, Kane unmasks, and we've seen him undergo so many metamorphoses, but I think this is the greatest metamorphosis that Kane has gone under since his debut in 1997. He's had up to about 3 to 4 metamorphoses, and I think that this ascension to the top of the WWE for Kane as this resurrected Kane is great, and I think the time is now to give him the WWE or World Heavyweight Championship for about 6 to 8 months. He's definitely worked hard to deserve it, and I think that he needs to be rewarded, honestly. And I think that having him in feuds with Wade Barrett, Dolph Ziggler, Cody Rhodes, Damien Sandow, and every new talented superstar that you have is only going to go a long way in benefiting Kane. But the problem that I have with Team Hell No is the WWE Universe seemed to be so confident and comfortable with Kane and Daniel Bryan as a team, and with them as tag team champions after a WWE.com poll, that WWE don't plan on breaking up this team anytime soon, or at least that it seems that way. They tease the implosion of Kane and Daniel Bryan, and it's almost as if you don't know what Kane and Daniel Bryan are going to do to each other from one minute to the next. You're almost sitting there wondering, when is this team going to implode? When are they going to go their separate ways, and when are we going to see newer and more effective storylines brought in for Kane and Daniel Bryan? I'm going to be honest with you. On NXT Season 1, Daniel Bryan, out of every rookie that was given exposure on the original NXT, he didn't really make much sense to me. His gimmick of being a nerd and the way he perceived himself was far from a Shawn Michaels when Shawn Michaels had his first match against the one-man gang back in the 80s. And there just wasn't anything interesting about him. You know, he was promoting himself as a guy who didn't have a television, didn't believe in using technology to communicate, was a vegan. I mean, there were so many idiotic things about Daniel Bryan that was easy to make fun of, more so than give credit for. And after weeks and months of talking about Daniel Bryan on this radio show and writing about him in written columns, I got more confident in Daniel Bryan's ability, especially when he started to win after losing virtually every match on NXT Season 1. It was just an embarrassing thing to watch Daniel Bryan compete, and I can understand where Michael Cole's frustration and commentary came from for Daniel Bryan. If Daniel Bryan was doing things of more productivity on the original NXT, I could see Michael Cole and every other radio host and columnist talking more probability of Daniel Bryan, but Daniel Bryan just didn't do anything. In comparison to what Wade Barrett and Darren Young and Skip Sheffield and even Heath Slater, before ever becoming the one-man band, were doing on NXT, I mean, Daniel Bryan looked like an absolute joke. He was the definition of pathetic. But once he started to turn his career around and he won the United States Championship after having an extensive history with The Miz, The Miz was his pro on NXT, and The Miz really didn't agree with how Daniel Bryan was performing for him and how he was representing both himself and The Miz. Once Daniel Bryan won the United States Championship and eventually became world champion after a year after he debuted on Raw and SmackDown after coming over from NXT, I started to support Daniel Bryan a little bit more. I loved how he turned his career around, and I especially love now how the fans are really rallying behind him. This is really the only thing that's great about Kane and Daniel Bryan's run as tag team champions. The fans, even though Daniel Bryan can't stand them, are continuously rallying behind Daniel Bryan, even more so when he was a heel as world champion. You didn't see that kind of fan rallying. What you're seeing is the fans are rallying behind Daniel Bryan, so that implies to me, eventually after the team implodes, regardless if he's a heel or a fan favorite, whatever way Daniel Bryan's career goes after Kane and Daniel Bryan implode, Daniel Bryan has a greater chance than he's ever had of having a second World Heavyweight Championship reign, and if not that, his first ever WWE Championship reign. And honestly, after the performance he's given us with CM Punk in singles matches and triple threat matches with Kane earlier this year from pay-per-views such as Over the Limit and No Way Out, I'd go for Daniel Bryan as WWE Champion. With this kind of fan support, it's absolutely astonishing. And the same thing applies for Kane. If you've ever had the chance to attend a WWE live event, the one thing that is evident about Kane at live shows is the fan support that goes along with Kane performing on the show. The fan support Kane receives is something that is very evident and very noticeable, and it's something that you really have to see to believe. The fans really rally behind Kane no matter if he's a fan favorite or he's a heel, and I think that's one thing that is absolutely remarkable about Kane, and a quality that is very difficult to find in a lot of WWE superstars. No matter if you're a legend or you're a new talent superstar, the fan support that Kane receives is absolutely unbelievable, and it's something that I have never stopped talking about since the first time I saw Kane perform. I attended a house show in 2004. I saw a match that Kane performed in that was actually the main event, and he was a heel. But the thing that really stood out about Kane on this house show was the fan support and how you could sense the fan support in the crowd sitting there. It was unbelievable, and you could really feel that same kind of support even now. And even so, for Daniel Bryan, you can kind of sense a little bit of fan support. So I think that having Daniel Bryan as WWE Champion or Kane as WWE Champion would go a long way to benefiting their careers. Just for some reason, WWE don't see it that way, and fans of Kane and Daniel Bryan are continuing to suffer because they want to see Kane, especially